Happy belated Valentine's Day, everyone. I hope that everyone had a very special day of love and chocolate and flowers. Today's episode was not originally on my agenda at all, but I decided it might be an interesting little whatnot. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of Valentine's Day. Now, to give you a little insight, Valentine's Day holds a part in both Christian and ancient Roman traditions. So, we'll start with the question, who was Saint Valentine? Well, the Catholic Church recognizes three different individuals named Valentine or Valentinus, and all three of them were martyrs. Now, our first legend was of a priest serving in 3rd century Rome. At the time, Emperor Claudius II decided single men made better soldiers than those that were married and had families. So, he outlawed marriage for the young men in the area. Valentine felt this was an injustice, and he continued to perform marriage rites for young couples in secret. Now, when he was discovered, Claudius ordered him put to death. Another story is that it was Saint Valentine of Terni who was a bishop and was also beheaded by Claudius outside of Rome. The third legend suggests Saint Valentine may have been killed for attempting to help the Christians escape the Roman prisons where they were typically beaten and tortured. The legend states Valentine was jailed and sent the very first Valentine greeting after he fell in love with a girl who had come to visit him. It is widely believed that she was actually the jailer's daughter. Before his death, he sent a letter that was signed "From your Valentine," which is a sentiment that is still used today. By the Middle Ages, Valentine would become one of the most popular saints in England and France. While it is widely believed Valentine's Day is celebrated in the middle of the month to commemorate the anniversary of Valentine's death and or burial, which would have occurred around 270 AD, others claim the Christian Church created it in an effort to Christianize the pagan celebration Lupercalia, which was celebrated on February 15th. Lupercalia was a festival of fertility dedicated to the Roman god of agriculture, Faunus, as well as to the founders of Rome, who were Romulus and Remus. So, at the beginning of this festival, members of the Lupeci, which was an order of Roman priests, would gather at a sacred cave where Romulus and Remus were cared for by a she-wolf as infants. The priests would then sacrifice a goat for fertility and a dog for purification. After they would cut the hide of the goat into strips, they would then dip those strips into sacrificial blood. Then they would take to the streets and gently slap both women and crop fields with the bloodied hide. Now, the Roman women were fine with this. They were perfectly fine with it because they believed it made them more fertile for the next year. Later that same day, all of these women would put their names in a big urn. Then all the bachelors in the city would draw a name. Whatever name they pulled was the woman that they were paired with for the next year. These matches would typically end in marriage. By the end of the 5th century, Pope Gelasius deemed Lupercalia unchristian and outlawed it. He then declared February 14th as Valentine's Day. The English poet Chaucer was the first person to record Valentine's Day as a day of romantic celebration when he wrote his poem Parliament of Fowls in 1375. Written valentines did not exist until after 1400. The world's oldest valentine, which is still in existence today, was a poem written by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London after being captured at the Battle of Agincourt. So now I bet you're wondering, well, where does Cupid come from? Well, while Cupid is now portrayed as a naked cherub shooting people with arrows of love, it's not exactly accurate. Cupid is a Roman god whose roots are actually based in Greek mythology. He is based off of Eros, the Greek god of love. According to Greek archaic poets, Eros was a handsome immortal who played with the emotions of gods and men alike. He would use golden arrows to incite love and also to cause aversion. And it wasn't until the Hellenistic period that he was portrayed as the mischievous, chubby little imp that we all know and love. By the middle of the 18th century, it was common for friends and lovers of all social classes to exchange small tokens of affection or handwritten notes. By the 1900s, printed cards began replacing the written letters. Ready-made cards were direct at a time when expressing your emotions was highly discouraged. Americans most likely began exchanging handmade valentines as early as the 1700s. In the 1840s, Esther A. Holland, known as the Mother of the Valentine, made elaborate creations out of scraps of real lace, ribbons, and colorful pictures. According to Hallmark An estimated 145 million Valentine's Day cards are sent each year, making Valentine's Day the second largest card sending holiday, only beaten by Christmas. And that is the true history of Valentine's Day. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you follow me on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. I will be back next week with another episode to go with our state's first sagas. Until then, stay true and whatnot. Bye, guys.